Breath of the Wild is considered to be one of the greatest video games of all time. Yet, I bounced off of it, possibly due to playing in massive, huge day-long chunks, which meant I couldn't fully appreciate the manner in which its sort of pick up and play style of gameplay allowed for easy and bite-sized adventures. But with Tears of the Kingdom coming out, who knows? Maybe things will go differently this time. Oh god, I've done it again! So, Breath of the Wild came out in 2017. At the time, I was tired, stuck in a tiny room, and significantly further away from turning 30 than I am currently. Oh no. But when Breath of the Wild came out, it was like the second coming of gaming Jesus. Video games had crystallized into the perfect manifestation of gaming itself, and Nintendo had blessed us with the grace of this wonderful game. Except I saw the Emperor for what they truly were. Specifically, naked. It was fine, let's be honest now. It was good, but like, there was just a little something that was ultimately missing from the game and the entire experience that left it all feeling a bit empty. Anyway, we're not here to retread old ground. If you want to do that, you can check out an incredibly old video review of mine where I talk about why I don't think the game's very good. But anyway, Tears of the Kingdom. Heading deep into the bowels of Hyrule Castle to uncover what secrets lie below. An update is done downloading. I didn't even realize this could be turned off. Oh. As your quest pushes you on, you find a new hell to be unleashed. And goodness, does everything go wrong? Well, Zelda's dead. But after once more waking up in a mysterious land, by which I mean Hyrule, Link is given a brand new Switch console. I wonder what he's playing. Oh, rad, Zelda. And then you're off on your grand adventure to find Zelda in a new world overflowing with gloom, danger, and all sorts of perils. Set as a sequel to Breath of the Wild, we find ourselves once more in Hyrule, in a very familiar map and a very familiar setting. But does that just mean that Tears of the Kingdom is little more than just a glorified DLC? No, you fool! Tears of the Kingdom is significantly more than that. It improves on every single system to create what is actually quite a nicely dressed emperor. Unfortunately, our dear friend Link lost an entire arm, as well as an entire girlfriend. But thankfully in doing so, he threw away his old worthless Wii U tablet and instead got a brand new arm filled with grand new powers that also massively improved the combat. In Breath of the Wild, not pictured, the weapons routinely exploded and everyone hated it. Rightly so, it kinda sucked. Everyone pretended that your inventory being filled with sticks and general garbage was a fun experience. But it wasn't. Enemies became tedious damage sponges where you'd almost certainly break more weapons than you'd pick up, leaving you with a pile of useless monster bits and the regret of extreme violence. Behold, Weapon Fuse. The greatest thing to happen to Zelda's combat since Wind Waker let you relentlessly wail on an old, shirtless man. It allows you to attach pretty much anything to your weapons, your shields and your arrows, and suddenly the world becomes unlimited possibilities waiting to happen. If you've got a useless stick in your pocket, Fret not, you can just fuse a bomb flower to it and release hell on the world. Nyahahaha! Okay, so some of the possibilities might be a little more deadly, and not just for the enemies. Link may be a grand hero on an epic quest, but he will crumple to the floor like so much soggy bread at the slightest of mishaps. Look, the ability to put like a gun on a knife so that it shoots every time you swing is quite funny and cool, and it just means that you can create increasingly bizarre weapons that are just doing increasingly bizarre things, and there's just no real limit to the Tears of the Kingdom has an incredible versatility to its fights that actually realise the original vision of Breath of the Wild. The fights were meant to be scrappy, you were meant to be picking weapons up on the fly, changing your style and using tools to pull off a flurry of fun movements. Like a Hyrulean Super Hot, a game about adapting to whatever you have at hand, throwing weapons into people's faces, and then saying the title of the game over and over again.
Super hot, super hot, super hot.
The issue, as mentioned previously, was that you just had sticks forever, and it was lame. In Tears of the Kingdom, you'll kill up a goblin, pick up the crummy stick it had, and then also try and fuse its head to the stick itself, and instantly have a weapon that has some effective use, like the forbidden bomb stick. I spent ages in this game initially just picking up weapons and monster bits separately, and the combat was terrible. But the moment I realised those monster bits had a use, things started dying. You had a reason to fight big monsters, as you'd get big things to stick to the end of your sticks. Suddenly, everything has a use. Even the bomb stick. Yahahaha! Not only do you now pick up a weapon and think, ah, cool, you now will pick up monster bits and think, huh, this will be useful to put on my weapon. Or you'll put a fire fruit on your arrows and now you have fire arrows. Or you'll find an actual cannon and now your shield is a cannon. Instead of becoming something that you rapidly start to avoid due to the general futility of it all, the combat in Tears of the Kingdom becomes something that is actively fun as you come up with new interactions and new things to stick where the sun no longer shines. As you keep going through the game, you'll come up with new ideas and new ways to enact overwhelming murder on everything around you. And it's great. It is a wild, vast improvement on everything that came before it. With great innovation of war comes an even greater innovation in problem solving. Hyrule is filled with all sorts of problems and puzzles for you to solve. And would you look at the time? This time round, they're even better than in Breath of the Wild. This is going to be a reoccurring theme. Shrines fill the hills aplenty in Tears of the Kingdom, just like in Breath of the Wild. They continue to function the same way you'd think. Open the Goatsea portal and get taken away to a sub-dimension full of puzzles and riddles. These often operate as thought experiments of the game's systems. It asks you to think about a very specific interaction within the game and then presents you with a couple of puzzles that the interaction could be used to solve. Breath of the Wild system primarily involved bombs, square bombs, and moving things around, and it was boring, lame, and boring. Where Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts died for our sins, Tears of the Kingdom rises from the ashes of a mixed metaphor in creating incredible constructs and letting them fly. Okay, maybe that didn't work. Let me just put some fans and stuff on this. Oh, yeah, it'd also be really cool if I just put it on this rail, you know, like a cool takeoff. Haha. Oh, there it goes. The thing is, this rules. There is a Lego brain mindset at play here where you come across a puzzle and you're just given a load of loose bits and pieces, and sure, there is an obvious and probably clear solution to the problem, but putting that together engages your brain and just fires everything off in the right way that it feels great. Puzzles are no longer just, moving a block around and being like, haha, look at me, I'm solving puzzles, I'm a smart boy. And instead, they're building something, creating your own solution to the puzzle provided to you. And it's incredible because it pulls you in, it engages you in the world, it makes you think about the systems at play in variety of ways. In what is one of the most crisp things to say ever, these shrines end up feeling like the commodification of the puzzle experience, where they've just been carved from the game, and the overworld becomes this strange menu screen to select a series of isolated puzzles that exist in a bubble. They have no real bearing on the game itself. They're strange gamified mechanics that exist purely for the player to sometimes deal with. A constant drip feed of a delicious puzzle drug without any of the wider context of a story or thought to get in the way. But in Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of puzzles are taken outside of the shrines. Yeah! Construction materials lie everywhere in the world for you to find, inviting you to just build a little cart and realize that it doesn't work and that you've wasted your time. But similarly, the Zonai artifacts and tools that you come across in the world provide a whole world of opportunity. You've probably seen videos of people making fully functional mecha that release destruction onto the world, and Tears of the Kingdom invites you to do that sort of thing constantly. It is eager for you to play with its little physics tools and make fun creations. And every time they work, you're routinely amazed. Or you fall to man's inevitable descent to cruelty and begin committing war crimes to every Korok you see. The world is littered with Koroks, lying on their backs, flailing their little pathetic limbs around, eager to get to their friends. With the implication being that you would use the various Zonai tools and crafting materials and bits and pieces that are just lying around at your creepy fingertips. Or you can just blast them off into space with humorous results. In Breath of the Wild, I barely actually found many Koroks. I frequently would complain about having inventory issues to people, and they'd be like, did you not expand your inventory with Korok seeds? To which my natural response would just be, the what seeds? But now I've seen more videos of the Geneva Conventions being violated in Tears of the Kingdom than I had actual Koroks in the first game. In Tears of the Kingdom, you can barely move for picking something up and coming across yet another Korok in there. Oh. Oh God. No! Exploration in Tears of the Kingdom continues to shine. Much like Breath of the Wild, it's a game that's all about seeing something on the horizon and then making your way over there. Because you can. Everything the light touches is something you'll want to explore, and before you know it, you'll check the map and... Oh, how is my horse over there? I could have sworn I was just going over here on a friendly pony ride, and and now I'm in a different time zone. I can only imagine how difficult it is getting anything done in this game if you have ADHD, as it is so easy for your eye to drift and for the allure of the unknown to take you to new areas. But it isn't just simply looking for the green-blue swirl of an alluring shrine that sets you on your journey. Tears of the Kingdom has included caves and all sorts of locations for you to head into and lose yourself in. Exploring the world is great, and there's so much for you to find and discover in this immersive sim. You gain a variety of tools to help you on your quest, like this climbing gear. I feel very called out by the deep cut sleeves, as that's literally what I wear when climbing in the summer. Yes, that was mostly just an excuse to try and flex on some climbing. You're not just limited to running around the land like some kind of loser. Could you imagine being limited to just one plane of existence? You'd just be some kind of really lame loser game that just had finding shrines as its main form of entertainment, right? Oh god, could you imagine being that gross? So in Tears of the Kingdom you can go to the sky and it's great! High above Hyrule in the skies, there are a number of sky islands and archipelagos which often act as a fun series of puzzles for people to work their way through. Flying through the skies on your constructed aircraft always feels incredible and creates this wonderful sense of freedom as you pass through the air and locate new things to do and new things to go to below. Being high above the clouds is a great sensation, with the sun washing away the weather and leading you through a wonderland of dragons and strange lands. Hey, I wonder what that big hole is. I'm beginning to realise I don't actually have a means to stop my fall. Oh, that music didn't sound good. While Tears of the Kingdom gives you the wonders of the sky, coated in sunlight, it also has the depths, an entirely underground realm of darkness, sadness, and just general bad vibes. Filled with the souls of the dead, this realm is riddled with gloom and all sorts of nightmares that can only be revealed with the small bursts of light provided by certain plants. Dare you wander off into the darkness? Dare you follow the statues and delve deeper into the shadows? You'll almost certainly die. The exploration was always incredibly strong in Breath of the Wild. It was the strength of Breath of the Wild. It was the wild part in Breath of the Wild. And that is maintained and improved upon in Tears of the Kingdom. The caves are fun and just add an extra element for you to do and get involved in, and it just means that there's so much more to look out for to just get involved in. You'll be going along your travels and see something in the distance. You perk up, eager to find out what awaits you on your quest. And oh, it's just another Korok. God damn. But the greatest thing in this adventure are the quests and how they've improved to actually interact with you, to the point where realistically they need their own section, so hopefully I've come up with a fun and witty title for it. Quests in Breath of the Wild were generally boring and lame. Let's all just agree with that now, because I'm correct. They tend to boil down to helping some loser on some meaningless fetch quest. You know, like, go get this kid some bugs or something, and once you bring them back, they're like, cool, good job, thanks. Anyway, I'm done talking with you, never talk to me ever again. That was the entire quest. Whether it was most of the story being hidden behind the world's worst GeoGuessr for a world that you had no understanding or context for, or a series of mainline dungeons that felt hollow and empty, it generally left little to feel excited about. Tears of the Kingdom stepped up its quests dramatically. There are a number of mainline quests that spiral out and immediately feel overwhelming, but there's also a number of significantly involved side quests that you actually want to work with. You land in a stable and are informed about a psychic chicken that seems to be giving out knowledge atop a hill. Thinking this couldn't quite possibly be the case, you go and check it out and oh, it is a talking psychic chicken. After performing a series of various requests for the psychic chicken, you're finally given your future. Death. Because wouldn't you know it, it was just once more a classic assassination attempt by the Yiga clan. The point is, this is part of a larger series of quests with a newspaper who has the greatest pelican in the world. Oh, he's great. Each stable has one of these quests to the point where I got actively excited about spotting a stable poking out from the surrounding hills. It meant another quest with interesting ideas and mysteries to solve was just waiting to be found. Plus, there are a number of cities and other locations with these sorts of big, grand quests to get involved in. These quests aren't as simple as something, popping up and saying, go to this spot, and then you just sort of mindlessly follow a quest marker that's exactly where you need to be on the map, and then the beeps and boops happen, lights and colours light up the screen, and good job, you did it, well done, you've not had any real thought involved. Instead, I'm going to be using one of the most overused references in video games, which is saying that, well, Tears of the Kingdom takes a very Dark Souls approach to how it handles its quests and storytelling. Instead of showing you exactly where to go and exactly what to do, it also just gives you, the general vibes of what you're meant to do, the idea of where you're meant to go. You'll talk to an NPC and they'll mention useful local information in passing, maybe something about a big horse or something. It doesn't spawn a quest that says, go find the big horse. Instead, you'll head over to some foothills and find more people talking about a big horse, and then lo and behold, there's a big horse. You'll hop on the big horse and then blam, you've got a big horse, and that's just dealt with. People might mention a land being swarmed by pirates, and you'll remember to look into it later, and it'll be this interesting series of quests to get on with. There are so many fun and interesting adventures to do that any attempt to progress the main storyline often falls to the wayside because, yeah, you're trying to find Zelda and save the day, but also everyone's always talking about something else going on. All of this alongside much better story quests featuring epic traversals through the land and incredible dungeons that have great ideas that keep you invested mean that this slightly more linear method of adventure in this massive open world is just entirely welcoming. Look, one of the reasons I fully bounced off Breath of the Wild is because for the most part, the quests were just boring, shallow, and lame. But in Tears of the Kingdom, it actually tries to give you something to work with, gives you something to engage with, all while fully being engaged itself within the world and the systems that it allows you to play with. I am the reason that this game is good. Me, who was the one who loudly declared and stood up against the naysayers when the first game came out and said, hey, maybe a game should be better than just like a really good sandbox. Maybe it should have a little bit more to it than just fun tools to play with. And now look what happens when you listen to me. You get good things. Breath of the Wild had an opening quest that went hard. Kill Ganon, there he is. And sure, nothing in Tears of the Kingdom is ever that extensively metal. However, Tears of the Kingdom actually has a story.
Link, you must find me.
The flashbacks in Breath of the Wild provided a grand, epic war against disaster that would have worked much better as the actual story of the game itself. And instead, we had nothing. All of it was relegated to background noise, to the point where they ended up actually having this story in a completely different game. Whoops! Tears of the Kingdom has a central theme that drives everything. Zelda has gone missing, and the world has changed and caused chaos. It still has the same telling of a story in the past, but it is actual background information, and you're directed to actually doing it and interacting with it a lot more by virtue of these areas being massive land art. You can still play around in the world however you want to. If you want to run headfirst towards the final boss, dive down and take on death itself, that's the very first thing you want to do, you can. You're free to do that. But if you want to partake in the world, engage in the story and the main quests, then Tears of the Kingdom presents you with this compelling narrative that is both beautiful and delightfully, hauntingly chilling at times, and it's just such a good experience to get involved in. Moments where you're like, off. Moments where you're like, you know what? I might actually start dealing with some of these dragon tears. And the result is incredible. It almost feels like Breath of the Wild was this sort of vague fever dream of sorts, because, well, no one ever brings up the previous end of the world scenario that happened a couple of days ago. And to me, I think that's a hilariously poignant statement about the story, because they're right. I wouldn't bring it up either. We've taken a bit of a negative turn here, so I think it's a good time as any to use this negativity and take a little bit of a dip into just some of the things that still are kind of lame and bad about the game. The depths are actually really boring. They start out spooky, scary, horrifying and alien. The threat of death always at your feet, but it severely lacks that central explorational theme of these Zelda games. Being able to see something cool and then going to it. You're bathed in darkness and are just left to the mercy of hopefully uncovering something. Stumbling around in the dark, the game points and goes, huh, these statues lead somewhere, you should probably follow them. And then you do, ignoring the entire world around you as you zero in on following this quest marker, and it feels so antithetical to everything about the game. It's fun as you get to use the tools and stuff, but it feels unrealized in what it truly wanted to achieve, which stretches beyond just the depths. Each major quest area is criminally underused. The Gerudo Desert, the Goron Mountains and so on go so unused beyond their main quests, and there's just something quite sad about that. These incredibly diverse areas are one and dones, and then away you go, time to go and look over some open fields again. The outfits you need to survive here are so expensive that there's almost no way of actually buying them. without some major investment from some form of constant quest or just grinding away. Wait, I think I saw something. So anyway, once you've got the ability to survive the climates, you kind of want to actually do something with them. This is going to seem really nitpicky, but this also expands to how, despite there being so many NPCs within this game, a lot of them are easily forgettable. There's no fun little sailor man who, sits around and says, "Gaboom!" or "Sploosh." Instead, it's just like this guy, or this Gerudo lady who genuinely made me blush. Oh my. There are key quests which are really fun and involve characters that are interesting and delightful, to the point where you'll remember them, the game will actually remember them. It's great, but also at times there'll be quests where everyone involved rapidly gets consumed by the massive world around them as you're just repeatedly washed over with just far too much going on, where there's just everything everywhere. But anyway, Pen's still the greatest character in the game. There is too much going on in this game. I think there's a point where the thought begins to crystallize in your head. I want to actually get something done here. And suddenly everything falls away. You spot shrines on the horizon, but you mostly scoff at the thought of once more stopping everything to do some puzzles in a highly artificial manner. The number of times that I wanted to actually get something done and instead got distracted by a series of caves or chasing after shrines is a great example to the strength of exploration in this game. But that does fade away at some point due to the greatest issue: repetition. Helping a guy out with a sign is great the first few times, gets you involved in construction, lets you think about physics. But soon you grow bored of yet another cookie cutter interaction and leave him hugging his stupid sign in the cold like the nerd he is. Cooking remains a tedious chore of blindly throwing things together in fun experimentation, but also they're the only way to heal, and having to go through countless menus is a pain. Just making meals is tedious. While out walking towards a new quest, you'll come across another Korok, lying on its back, bloated by its own slovenly attitudes, and you don't even pay attention to it. You simply walk by, leaving it to writhe in perpetual futility. On your way back, you decide to show off how little you might actually care about it by surfing on your shield in an ultimate sign of indifference. But that's fine, because thanks to the game being so hands-off in marking things on the map and just giving you a running list of everything there is in the world, you never necessarily feel like you're missing out. I'm going to go into this later at some point. There's an entire video about this that I'm going to make because this is too long already. But the game never makes you feel like you're missing things. It never reminds you of the many things you've not done. Instead, you experience whatever you want to experience. You experience and discover however much you can discover, and it's freeing. Well, I played Breath of the Wild in very long sustained bursts, which possibly meant I was burnt out on the systems and just could see that there wasn't much more to it beyond what you originally see. But when playing Tears of the Kingdom, well, I was playing it in significantly more shorter bursts because, I now have to work more. I have to apparently interact with people and go outside or something. I know, it's awful. The pick up and play aspect of this game meant that searching for shrines in caves and other sort of small puzzles provided their own bite-sized adventures that could easily just take, a couple of hours in the afternoon, in the evening after coming back from work. And it just meant that I had my own quests to deal with. I had my own adventures to handle. And I just didn't get burnt out nearly as quickly on the systems this time. Tears of the Kingdom is honestly actually great. It's got an equipment and combat system that has been massively improved to constantly remain engaging. There's a construction system that makes puzzles silly and fun and just actually interesting to work out, all wrapped around this genuinely compelling story that just all comes together to completely blow the first game out of the water. The water that would be Wind Waker, the actual greatest Zelda game of all time. Like, please, come on Nintendo, just release Wind Waker on the Switch already. I need it. Get it, play it, love it. Genuinely, I cannot recommend Tears of the Kingdom enough. There is so much to see, so much to experience, and so much to explore, but this time in an actual meaningful way. Like, honestly, this is the best game that you could possibly buy on the Nintendo Switch. It's one of the best things Nintendo has done in quite a long while, and I cannot recommend it enough. Hello there, and thank you for watching my video all about Tears of the Kingdom. God, how I wish I had some, temperature appropriate clothing that would make me cooler, like in the video game, 'cause it's very hot currently. Anyway, if you liked my video, let me know in the comments or through other means. Just send it to me in your dreams. I don't mind. Just tell me that you enjoyed it somehow, because I'm frail. Otherwise, if you have other thoughts about Tears of the Kingdom, genuinely an incredible game, let me know in those methods as well. I'm sort of rambling because I'm very sweaty and very warm. I've decided to film this in the middle of the day, like a dungus. Anyway, if you want, there is a video up here about God of War, one of the best games I played from last year, because I played it this year. Otherwise, down here, there is a video about Wild Frost, which is a really fun indie card game that you should definitely check out. I keep thinking about it, I keep playing it here and there. It's really fun. Otherwise, you can click on my face, where there is my face orb, where you can subscribe. Anyway, thank you and goodbye.